We're going to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Here.
Councilmember Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Stokes.
Here.
Councilmember Graves.
Present.
Councilmember Saper.
Here.
Councilmember Tull.
Here.
And Councilmember Smith.
Here. You don't have to call clerk. You don't have to call clerk.
What?
You didn't call clerk. You don't call clerk. Why do you have to call the ones that are here? I don't know. We'll do that in a
Councilmember Clark, absent.
They're absent. Thank you. Pledge your allegiance, please. This evening will be led by Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't think any of them I can see. All right. Next item, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No. Motion carries. Next item, comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak this evening? Oh, we got a few. I'm going to have to settle this. Liz? No? Okay. Sorry, George. We'll get to you next. Good evening.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I'm Liz Ryan, 2417 Erie, and I have been noted there's been some discussions about increases for the council and things of this nature. And I do think that we need to think and judge the size of our city, because when I saw that chart, there's cities much, much larger than us. And after all, when we come on the council and we run for something, we run by choice and we volunteer. And that's what we want to do, as well as board members. But I think you really need to consider the size of our city compared to one of these that these charts have made out. I've looked at it pretty extensively, and so as a president of our park board. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening. George Schluter, 800 East 23rd Avenue. The last citizen survey that the city conducted, one of the highest priorities identified by the citizens was single-family home ownership. And since that time, you all have approved 2 big apartments, 1 small apartment, and 1 live-work unit, but nothing in terms of single-family. There are a few opportunities in North Kansas City owned by the city for single-family development, and I think it's time you start looking at it. Secondly, last week I attended the Plan Commission, and there was a discussion about short-term rentals. And that very much disturbed me as I sat in the back and listened to this conversation. I just put in STR rentals in North Kansas City, and I found 4 in the avenues. Listed right out, even though we don't allow them. Hopefully, you all will not endorse short-term rentals, and if you do, have some very, very tight regulations on it. It's one more thing that will hurt single-family living in North Kansas City, and I think that's an important thing for you to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Bruns, 2100 Fayette. I had 3 pages, and then I saw the 5-minute rule, and I'm like, okay, I can get it in 1. So if you will indulge me, I'm going to read it so I cannot digress. I've been paying attention to the projects that are underway and are planned in a roundabout way. That's why I'm motivated to be here. I ask myself, where are they getting the money? What is the plan to sustain the project once the grants funds are gone? How do they maintain and sustain the amenities they currently have? Are there too many projects? Then I hear about taxes. I cannot help but join the two, be it right or wrong. I know they are not directly connected. I understand 20% increase in the water, and I believe there's another 20% coming later down the road, not sure. I also understand that if the additional taxes are coming, will be laid out over the next year or 2 as to not to overwhelm us, the voters. Taxes with our current economic situation is never popular. I was raised on want versus need. The water and sewer are a need. The other projects are nice, but it's all subjective. You might think it's a want, I might think it's a need, or vice versa. The upcoming taxes have refocused my attention to your agenda items. I am here because I'm curious what you have in mind for the increase in the city councilmen and women salary. I work for a nonprofit board. I work with and have worked with several boards. Individuals who give of their time for the greater good. They are not compensated but are involved with meetings and time frame and events. I have always looked at the city council as a sort of board of directors. I know you have a lot more because you have a tax base, but you are here for the greater good, and you know that. You give of your time because you are about the city. The monthly paycheck is a small way of thanking you for your service. I believe NKC has always been conservative in their approach to compensate these city officials. It is by design. I think the fact that pay is nominal gives a service to the city. It's the heart of the job. You benefit the community. In the agenda, they reference McGrath's Human Resources. So I went to have a look at it, and I was astonished and grateful that most of other communities feel the same way about city before self. In fact, the McGrath document is a testament to the giving of time with small compensation by cities all over the area. I have selected a few to prove my point. I think, however, population is important to give it a full text. Parkville, population 7,810. Their mayor annually receives $14,400. The city council receives $5,400. Smithville, population 10,552. Their mayor annually receives $3,600. Their council receives $1,800. Gladstone, population 27,017. Their mayor receives $100 annually. Their city council receives $100 annually. Liberty population, 30,377. Their mayor receives $4,800 and their council receives $2,400. North Kansas City population, 45, which will probably go up with the apartments. Couldn't find it directly, but I went to your budget. So all I can see is the mayor, probably 10,000, and the city council, you receive 3,600. Without the perspective of the other cities, I at first thought, oh, maybe a small raise. But then as I was looking at this report, thank you for doing that, I was reminded of the true reason why you are here before us. Since this, I don't know what your goal is to increase it, why it's on the table. No city on the city council gets what they deserve. I surmise they serve for a higher principle, city versus over self. Yes, there are cities that pay more, but we are trying to meet, but are they trying to meet the market? I don't think you should try to meet the market. I don't think that's appropriate for the city council. I think you and those cities with larger populations should be applauded and hailed for doing service. It is amazing what you have to listen to, people like me. But I also know, I'm digressing. See how easy it is for me to digress. Today, everyone is having hiring issues. People want more money. That's the mindset of the employment of today. I feel strongly that elected officials do not fall in that category. The position has never been about pay. This is not why you serve, and you know that. There are unexpected perks that come your way, I believe, and hopefully I serve with the nonprofit, and I'm always saying we don't pay a lot, but here's your perks. You have recognition, you have governing power, you have accomplishments, you have networking, and if you have a business in here, oh my gosh, maybe it opens some doors for you, which is a nice perk. You meet professionals and volunteers that add to your perspective and probably add to your self-being. If I were a business, no, I'm gonna cut it short, my 5 minutes is probably up. I am just questioning what is the motivation for the discussion. I do not know what you're proposing. It could be a small amount. I do not just see an increase here, though. With this discussion, I see possibly a change in your philosophy on serving. Thank you.
Thank you. Next comment. Good evening.
Excuse me. My name is David Zimmer. I live at 1220 Washington Street, Kansas City, Missouri. I'm here to talk for just a second about item number 17 on your agenda tonight, dealing with the use of the riverfront levee. Let me first start by saying that there is nobody that has a deeper feeling for North Kansas City than I do. My great-grandfather came here in the early 1900s, and we have been involved in business in Northtown since that time. I personally have worked in North Kansas City since the early 1980s. I serve as a supervisor on the North Kansas City Levee Board. It's my understanding that you all are looking at the feasibility of creating recreational uses for the levee. Now, let me say, I'm not here to bash bike paths. I'm not here to bash walking trails and things of that nature. I love to ride a bike. I love to hike. The levee was built in the early 1950s with one reason and one reason only, and that was to keep the Missouri River out of North Kansas City. It today protects hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of investment. The levee, as it was constructed to hold the river back, and that was it. It did not have recreational uses in mind. There are, on the river side of the levee, there are huge rocks that are used, it's called riprap. It's called it to hold or to stabilize the bank. There are numerous trees along the river side of the levee. We call it the toe of the levee. There are homeless camps. If we open that up or consider allowing recreational uses in there, the levee system would have to be rebuilt. That would involve hundreds of millions of dollars to do that. We would have to patrol the area. It is not a safe place for people to recreate and go. It is there for one reason and one reason only, and that's to protect North Kansas City. I would urge you that as you're considering the recreational uses of the levee, and work with Mark, but understand what is there and what the consequences might be to businesses and industries and residential areas that are on this side of the levee and that would be at risk if the river ever breached the levees going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments? Seeing none, we move on to the consent agenda. Is the motion to approve the consent? Oh, Councilmember Stokes.
I'd like to take number 14, First Amendment, off the consent agenda.
All right, sorry, hold on. 14, right? You said 14.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions on it.
Oh, we good? Okay. I saw a bunch of hands there.
Could we also poll item 11 for a couple questions?
Item 11, we'll just start fresh the whole thing. Okay.
Start the
Now, was
meeting over.
there others? We got 11 and 14. All right. Is there a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
I move to approve the amended consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Next item will be item number 11, which is task order with on-call engineering consultant, 10th Avenue Sidewalk Design, resolution number 23006. And we should have rolled this probably up with polling 12 as well, just in case. But I guess they have a budget. Let's see if we get a contract. Oh, I'm sorry. You had that. Who pulled 11?
That was me.
That was you. What do you got?
I'm not all that familiar with the background on this, but I just had a couple questions, I guess, kind of mainly focused on the pricing and the scope of this. No, I think it was at the last meeting we discussed that sometimes these engineering costs can be incredibly high. I was looking through the document on this, and from my impression, it looked like it was essentially just one block's worth of sidewalks being installed, and just trying to weigh the benefit with the cost. We have an estimate of, we take the 40,000, and any idea on how much the construction would be for a total cost to complete this?
Right. Well, yeah, so in late 2022, we were approached by Excel Tube to look at the crosswalk at the intersection of 10th and Atlantic. So as we got looking at that, we realized that just putting a crosswalk in there wouldn't be very responsible because there's a lot of sightline issues. There's not appropriate signage in the area. There's a lot of improvements that need to be made. There's also kind of a condition there along 10th Avenue on the one-way section between Burlington and Atlantic where all of the XL Tube employees tend to park. It's not really designed for parking, so they're kind of parking over the curb, and it's kind of just a mixed-up area, which you get a lot in kind of in more industrial zones. Kind of like what we did for the Rabbit Hole. We'd like to, expand on that request for a crosswalk into just improving the general infrastructure in the area. So kind of expanded from that, looking at maybe exploring back-angle parking. There's drainage issues down there as there is everywhere, but when we look at, adding sidewalks or infrastructure, we have to address those at the time. There's a lot of underground utilities because some of the main power goes into the building right there. So there's a lot of different elements to the infrastructure in that area that we'd have to understand first before we just add a sidewalk. So a lot of the cost is reflective of getting those items surveyed, topographic review. We don't want to inadvertently cause a ponding issue by adding just sidewalk in without knowing where things drain or where they're intended to drain, or maybe even having to add new drainage into the system. So a lot of that's kind of reflected in that design cost. So it kind of, just putting in a crosswalk sometimes can become a bigger thing, and we don't want to inadvertently cause a different issue by just adding concrete where there isn't one now, so.
Understood. I guess it'd probably be too early to have any kind of estimate on the construction cost at this point.
It would be, yeah. I noticed in the agenda docket, there's kind of a general sketch. That's something actually we kind of just threw to.
That looked good to me.
All right,
Stamp
right,
it.
yeah, no, yeah. If only it was that easy. So no, we would have to have Wilson and Company come in, and until we understand what's underground, how much stormwater work we'd have to do this, that we wouldn't be able to provide a construction estimate yet.
I'd like to also add that lighting considerations is another thing that XL Tube had chatted with us about. This is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation, so they do have staff members that are walking in the dark across the street. And so there is some lighting and safety considerations that will be encapsulated with this particular project. We are working with the police department to make sure that pretty much employee safety is our number one goal for this particular project.
We should have taken up some of the space on the original plot and built some parking. Councilmember Saper.
At some point, after we get through with the original initial engineering, we might want to consider proposing some kind of cost-sharing arrangement with it.
So this right here, actually, all the improvements are in the cities.
They all are?
We own, yeah, the property line actually goes all the way up to the edge, which is one of the things we didn't know when we had
Okay.
initially chatted with them, and they were very open to a cost share until it was understood that everything is on our side, including the failing infrastructure. There is some very bad shaped sidewalks in this area that do pose a hazard that we own.
So we upped the budget to do a lot of ADA ramps and curb corners. What is the standard process for that? Who does the engineering for that, and what does that normally cost?
So when you're looking at just basically changing what's already a maybe non-compliant ADA ramp into a compliant ADA ramp, you usually have something already there to work with. This is a circumstance where there's nothing there right now. So like on the corner right there, the southeast corner of Atlantic, there's no existing sidewalk right now. So to add all that in without, again, causing a ponding issue, considering lighting, considering utilities that are already there, there's a gas main, there's a power pole right in the middle where you'd want to put a ADA ramp. It's a little more involved than just our replacement program that we do.
But Jen, I mean, what is the process for that, though?
For the ADA.
For any other ramp? Yeah, just the ramp at the corner itself. What is that?
When you have, again, something you're just replacing, you can just look at slopes. You don't necessarily have to have survey or, consider.
I guess, sorry,
utilities.
I'll change it a little. Does Wilson do that? They're our on-call engineer as well, right? So do you ever need any engineering work for that?
Sometimes, if it's very complicated, we're kind of lucky in North Kansas City that it's very flat already. So
Okay.
we can, if it's existing already, we can improve it pretty easy. But not all the time would Wilson and Company be involved in that, no.
Okay. Further questions on this item? Is there a motion to approve this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next item, number 14, First Amendment Tree Purchase and Installation Program, Resolution Number 23009. That was your question. What do you got?
Thank you for indulging me on this. I just have a few questions. Can you address to me why the increase increased, and did we get larger trees because of the increase in our budget?
Well, to answer the second question, yes, we will have the option now to have larger trees. So this all kind of came from the budgetary discussions about the tree program and kind of having more robust program going forward. Currently, we only have 2-inch caliper trees that we would plant. So very small. A lot of people kind of say, well, you start off with a very small tree. It takes a long time for it to get large. 4-inch caliper trees are the kind that we put in the downtown streetscape. So you start off with a much larger tree. So expanding the same species list into a 4-inch caliper tree, and then also the program moving from $30,000 to $100,000, it jumps us into the prevailing wage area. So even the 2-inch caliber trees had to have an increase. So we ultimately will have a lot more trees than we, through the plan. But yeah, there's a higher cost associated with the prevailing wage and the larger tree species. Sizes, sorry.
And also, can you address where they can only be planted in city, where in the city?
So this program is for trees in the right-of-way and trees in park spaces. So this is our, again, just kind of making our existing program for right-of-way and park spaces more robust, adding more elements of identifying the best tree for the location, documenting that location in our digital inventory, adding water capabilities so we can help ensure their growth, and then larger trees. So yeah, it's just the right-of-way and the park spaces for this.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith.
The prevailing wage piece, can you explain that? It says there's a $75,000 state threshold. What is the price difference that we're looking at now that we've jumped into the prevailing wage? Do you have that?
I think it added $117 to each price from what it currently was.
Per tree?
Per tree, yeah. So the price before was at $320, and
Yeah.
then the cost of labor for prevailing wage goes up $117.99.
So if my math is, back of the napkin math is correct, the trees went up 25% in price because we are 25% over the prevailing wage.
That could be right.
So we drop to 75, we get the same amount of trees for 25,000 less?
It's not a linear, I guess, formula, I'd say. So
Seems close. I mean, not linear, but if we went to 75,000, it would be like a 5% drop in. Yeah, okay, like 74.9 and some change.
Right.
But it wouldn't be a 25% drop in what we would get. It would be a 5 to 10% drop with a 25% cost reduction.
we have to do the
We
math,
would, yeah,
but
we would have to get the pricing.
Yeah.
We are not, again, we are receiving the pricing.
Right.
right. The other thing
Yeah,
is
we
that
receive the pricing, we're not governing
It would
the
be
pricing.
interesting, I mean, maybe we continue it until we can get pricing, but if, like, 100,000 was just a blunt figure we threw in there, I didn't realize that there was this threshold, and if 75 saves us a lot of money in the program, it seems worth exploring.
Or we go the other direction, up the budget even more.
Yeah, or we.
Councilmember Graves.
This is an annual reoccurring fee, right? Like in the budget?
Yes,
to be
exactly. It's an
100,000 annually?
an increased amount from what it normally is, though.
Yeah,
You were
so,
able
Yeah.
to appropriate it on an annual basis.
yeah, so if that threshold exists, then, yeah, I would propose continuing this and bringing it back next meeting with a budget amount of $74,999. If that's gonna save us money over the long term,
Well, again, keep in mind, what are your goals? If your goals are more trees, cost is a consideration. I guess one of the things that we're looking for is if the goal is more trees, then there will be a cost associated with that.
we would still be doubling the budget, over
If
doubling
you're
the
okay with
budget.
less trees to keep it underneath the prevailing wage, we're good with that as well.
The current budget's 30. We just threw out a number 100,
The current budget is 100.
or it was 30 though, right?
Went from 30 to 100.
Okay, so it was 30. We threw out 100, not knowing that there was this limit once you hit 75. If we knew that, I don't think we would have thrown out 100. That's what I'm saying.
Councilmember Saper.
Not paying prevailing wage means that we're shorting people who should be paid.
Here, that's what's waiting.
And it's a matter of, actually, we're, again, to Connor's position, the cost we're incurring with all these studies with engineering, we don't blink at that, but we blink at paying people prevailing wage. That's somehow wrong. And I think we should just leave it where it is.
I think you could go back to some of the, the fair contracting stuff that we brought up earlier. But also there is this balance when you just cross the threshold. Would it make sense to go a little bit farther in the budget potentially? You know what I mean? Change the formula a little bit here, but I don't have the math on me right now. Councilmember Toll.
I think that's the point, is that we don't know. I think the question is, would it make a difference in the number of trees? I don't think you could say go back or stay where you are without the information. If you were to ask if we were to be $74,999.99, are we talking about a difference in 10 trees, or are we talking about a difference in 40 trees? That makes a difference. So the more money, more trees, whether or not that's true or not true. I think that's the question that we don't have the answer to. I don't think you make decisions without that.
Yeah. Councilmember Stokes.
Totally a proponent for more information. However, I am curious, do you have to plant trees in the spring? Are we going to miss that deadline if we decide to continue this and things like that?
Yeah, that is actually part of the timing for this right now, is to try to hit the late February, early March timeframe. So it's giving them time to get the data in and get those spring plantings going. That was kind of the timing here. I guess the other thing I'd say is that scaling the cost, now that we're adding in the larger trees, it's kind of hard to say how many more, if you're trying to think of it that way, just because if we add more 4-inch than 2-inch now, which I think is some of the goal in the downtown areas where we want more robust instantaneous effect, like on Swift, then, you might be adding more cost there anyway, and so it's hard to kind of gauge that.
Councilmember Toll. And then Robert.
I would not be in favor of putting anything on pause or hold. I would be in favor of gathering more information. But I'm not advocating for stopping the tree program, just gathering more information while we go along.
Okay. I said Councilmember Roberts.
Listen, we went from 30 to 100 because we wanted a lot more trees, we wanted bigger trees, and that put us in the prevailing wage. And I think we're all trying to roll this back as Councilmember Saper because we're hitting that prevailing wage. I think it's a yearly budget item. I think we don't misstep here, and like we've done so many times, where next year we may be trying to make up for what we're taking away this year just to save a little bit of money to not pay people the wages they deserve. I think we suck it up this year and do the $100,000 that we all committed to doing just a couple weeks ago. And maybe we spend a little bit more this year, but we also get those trees and we don't have to wait another year to add the 10 or 15 or 20 trees we're missing. So I move to approve.
All right, there's a motion. Further Councilmember comment?
A second.
Okay, there's a second. Further Councilmember Smith. Is that a comment?
I mean, that's what I was going to get to, is I think we go ahead because we got the time frame, approve it now, and I would like to see what it looks like at the under prevailing wage number, just so we have that information for next year.
All right, further Councilmember comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next item, please. You're back to reading.
Number 17, Planning Sustainable Places Grant Agreement, Riverfront Levee Trail, Bill number 7743, ordinance number 9540.
Shoot.
All right. Good evening, council members. So this item in front of you was a action item that carried out from last summer when city staff has applied for a Planning Sustainable Places grant to conduct a feasibility study of a mixed-use trail following North Kansas City levee system. We have heard some public comment today. I want to make sure everybody is aware that this is an opportunity that we see to assess the feasibility to putting a recreational trail and to encouraging a multimodal transportation network in North Kansas City. In this particular process, MARC, the Mid-American Regional Council, does require a very robust public engagement process, so we have already identified North Kansas City Levee District as our key component, and they will be our key stakeholder as well. So we do see this particular feasibility study as a moving target that we'll have to work with North Kansas City Levee District closely. We'll be countering back and forth and discussing a lot of engineering and technical questions. And then we'll find out whether or not a trail is a feasible item over here. If so, where it's going to be landed, and eventually we'll have a plan for a 5-year phase for us to considering if whether or not we're going to construct it and the costs associated with it. So for this particular project, the staff has requested $54,000 for the federal grant, and the local matching funds will be $21,000. The total project cost will be $75,000. If you wish to approve it, this item has a grant agreement between the city and Mid-America Regional Council, and I'm open to questions.
All right, here we go. Questions. Any council questions? Councilmember Saper.
Yeah, I tend to agree with the person who spoke during public comments that the levee never, never, ever be endangered in any way. However, this is a feasibility study to see if there is a way to use land maybe near the levee, if not on it, and whether that can be possibly used. And that would, of course, mean convincing the levee district that it's really a feasible project that will not in any way endanger the integrity of the levee. So I would support it with that caveat in mind.
Thank you. Further comments? Councilmember Smith.
Maybe I'm just having trouble understanding, but how much money is coming from the city for this one versus the grant and how all that functions?
So the city is contributing $21,000. The grant we're getting is $54,000. The total cost of the project is $75,000.
Okay, 54, and that's coming from federal or from Mark, or how?
It's from federal. It's administrated by.
Mark, yeah.
Okay, they're admin, okay, perfect. I'd move to approve.
Second.
First reading here. This is for a first reading, right?
First reading.
Ordinance.
Second.
Second. All right, further councilmember comments? Councilmember Graves.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, I don't think it'll affect any of your votes, but I was a no on this the last time for this exact purpose. I don't think that the trail is going to be desirable if it's not on the levee, and I don't think it's going to actually be upon the levee. And I wish it could be. You know, I love going to E.H. Young Riverfront Park in Riverside. Over in Parkville, they have a nice park right there along the river. Just unfortunately here in Northtown, we are surrounded by a levee that protects us. So unfortunately, I don't think that a bike trail would be desirable on the city side of the levee. Like, you're gonna go ride a bike around the Paseo Industrial District? I mean, I feel like this is a waste of money, so it's a no for me.
All right, further councilmember comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
No.
Motion carries. Is there a motion for a second reading?
An ordinance adopting and approving an agreement by and between Mid-America Regional Council and the City of North Kansas City, Missouri for Mid-America Regional Council's Planning Sustainable Places Program.
Now's your.
I move.
Oh, you beat her to it.
I'll go ahead. I move that bill number 7743 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9540.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes.
Now you turned it off.
Yes.
Okay, was that a yes or a no? Okay. Councilmember Graves.
No.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Tull.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
An ordinance adopting and approving an agreement by and between Mid-America Regional Council and the City of North Kansas City, Missouri for Mid-America Regional Council's Planning Sustainable Places Program. Item 18, license agreement request for 1520 Swift Exit Stairs and Landing, Bill number 7744, ordinance number 9541.
I was going to pick on Tom, Shu, Anthony. Anyone
Yes.
that wants this item can go ahead.
I'll jump in here.
There.
And you
Our
can
chief.
call
That's
Tom
fine
and
too.
Anthony afterwards if you want to. But yeah, I'll start it, since it started with my department anyway. So this license agreement in front of you is submitted through the BAT Acquisition 1520 Swift Company. And they do, I believe, have their property owner here tonight, wish to testify for this particular request. What they're asking for is a license agreement to encroach our right-of-way. This particular property is located in between 14th Avenue and 15th Avenue on the west side of Swift. As you can see, this particular site plan shows where these encroachment would occur. This encroachment request is actually a consequence of a inappropriate conduct for occupying the building without proper certificate of occupancy. So this particular location had a warehousing tenant moved in a few months ago and has occupied 150,000 square feet of the total 182,000 square feet of the building. So the single fire area is approximately 900 feet long, which the city code requires additional exits to be installed in this particular area for this tenant to occupy this particular space properly. However, the applicant has demonstrated they have some difficulty to comply with the building code to provide adequate exits at this particular location without proper license agreement. Therefore, this petition in front of you is a request to install 2 new egress doors with stairs and landing and ramp along our Swift right-of-way. As you can see, one of the exit is about 500 feet from 14th Avenue. One of them is about 200 feet from the 14th Avenue. These particular encroachment will take 5 feet to our right-of-way. However, I do want you guys to be advised of what a license agreement would not allow. So this particular license agreement would allow the city to revoke it for a good cause. In other words, if the city wished to terminate this license agreement for a good cause, this particular building for this tenant use will still remain in question to comply with the safety code, and it will be in violation to the building code. In other words, the applicant will still be, and the building owner will still be required to find alternatives to comply with the building code to provide adequate exits. And the last part is, if the city wished to terminate this particular license agreement, there will be a 30-day notice the city has to notify the owner. So the owner will have to be aware that the license agreement they enter into is at their risk. And this particular risk, it could be caused by the utility conflicts, because staff has already known that there is Evergy underground electric lines and there's underground gas lines that's conflicting the proposed landing area. If the applicant wish to move forward with this license agreement with the council's approval, staff will recommend the city council to add a condition to the south, for the south exit that the applicant is proposing, which is on the which is on the right, at the top right hand of this particular site plan. That you can see currently they have a driveway to a abandoned loading dock. The applicant has closed the loading dock and proposed to change the current loading dock into an egress for foot traffic. Therefore, city staff would recommend the applicant to close this particular driveway for the safe exits. All the costs associated with the maintenance and construction of this particular landing, including removing them if this particular license agreement is terminated, shall be solely responsible by the applicant. That concludes my part of this presentation, and I'm open to questions.
Is the applicant aware of the conditions and okay with those?
I do believe the applicant is aware of the condition. Whether or not they agree with it, I would
Okay.
like them to state it themselves.
Okay. We can go on here. Councilmember Saper.
What are the kinds of causes that what are the kinds of causes that would justify revoking that?
You mean if they're, what other alternatives they have? If
Well, no, if at some time we choose to revoke that for a just cause.
So if
What does that mean?
that means, that's why we're just granting a license agreement, meaning we allow them to conduct use this particular area that they don't own and they don't have the right to use. However, we still hold the interest in the estate of this particular area. And the reason for us to ever revoke it typically will be in the goodwill, meaning if we're relocating our utility lines, if we're looking at expanding our particular sidewalk or to accommodate a right-of-way improvements, then we would request the revoke of the license agreement. And in that case, the particular applicant or tenant might not be there utilizing this space as they're utilizing today. In other words, the license agreement might no longer be needed, which I don't know. They might still need it. If so, if the license agreement is still in need, then the applicant has to find alternatives to comply with building code, which includes modifying the interior side of the building, cutting through some foundation, reinforce the foundation to accommodate the exit doors, which staff believe they do have proper ways to do so.
One further item would be, if at some time it did have to be removed, and it would be at their cost, would it not be reasonable to require some kind of bond to cover that cost prior to it?
You could require some bond. That's typically not a huge cost. We do have insurance along with the license agreement.
Thank you.
Councilmember Graves.
Yeah, just to kind of address what you just brought up too, there's a letter here from the applicant, Todd Burnage, and it states in here that he's proposing using metal grating for the landing and stairs. So if they have to remove it for some reason, it's not like some giant concrete slab, so it'd be pretty easy to pick up and move. So I'm in favor. Can I move to approve this?
Yeah, you can do it, yeah.
Yeah, move to approve.
Second.
All right, first and second, further councilmember comments, Councilmember Toll.
My concern is that it's swift-facing. So as far as aesthetics of being swift-facing, a lot of times when you see egress or fire escapes, they're not on your storefront street. They're on the side streets or behind the building. So the look of it being the metal grate and turning it to a door, I realize that this is right now just boarded up and it's got the rock foundation here. But are there any standards for what it looks like?
So what we're enforcing over here is a non-conforming building. And what we're enforcing is the minimum life and safety code requirement. In other words, we're not enforcing them to change the existing door that's being boarded up to a fancy door because we want it to look nicer, because it's a non-conforming situation. However, I do request you to consider the requirement asking them to close the curb cut if they wish to install this particular landing and the ramp for foot traffic, just for safety reason.
So that's something that we would need to signify in our approval?
That's true.
Okay.
Councilmember Smith.
So I've got a clarifier question. I'm reading Todd's letter here, and it says, it's our opinion that if we do go through the stone foundation, it may affect the integrity of the foundation. Hey, Todd, did you guys have anybody look at that? No? Nope, that was it.
Okay, never mind.
Appreciate you.
For anyone listening, he said no.
So I'm not going to attempt to negotiate here from the dais, but I would like to see that it would affect the foundation before we get into a messy licensing agreement that could interfere with utilities and be revoked and then cause trouble if a new tenant comes in. I know it might be a little more costly to do, but it's so much cleaner to keep this on private property so that we don't run into interference and don't have to dictate that they close a curb cut or any of that. It would also be down the road if they want to open it back up, there would still be a curb cut there for entryway. So I would like to see that, but there is a motion on the floor.
There's a motion second, Councilmember Stokes. Okay, yeah, go ahead, please. We're still doing councilmember comments.
Is there any sort of penalty or anything for occupying a non-conforming building like this?
There is no, if it's a legal non-conforming building, there's no penalty. If there is a violation of city code in whatever format, likely there will be a penalty, but that's typically enforced after the city has communicated with the property owner. If I answer your question.
All right, here we go. We got a first and second.
I was just going to state, I agree with what Jesse said as far as getting that, instead of just an opinion, having somebody tell us that it really can't be done or it would be damaging to the building. And for that reason, I'll vote no at this time.
Same.
All right. Got a first and a second. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
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 Whoa, whoa, whoa. When I am, maybe I declare. No, go ahead. Call the roll, please. Sounded like yes to me.
No. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
It's the end of the item. Yeah. There we go. No first reading. Next item.
I mean, can we have a quick discussion post-vote,
the
or
item's
is that
over.
it? Does that terminate the item?
It can, yeah.
Okay.
Next item, please.
Number 19, agreement with Operation Greenlight, Bill number 7739, ordinance number 9536.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is a renewal of the two-year agreement with OGL, Operation Greenlight, which is the Mid-America Regional Council's combined effort metro-wide to synchronize a lot of traffic signals in the area. It comes through the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Act, so it kind of helps reduce emissions when the signals are synchronized. So our portion of being a member of that is our agreement has expired, and it's up for another two-year agreement. Happy to answer any questions.
There we go. I saw Gray's first. And
Is Burlington included? I noticed it just says Armor, and I know Highway 169, they're doing bridge work, and what is it, some astronomical amount of months that 169 is going to be closed. Burlington's about to become bombarded. Is that included on the?
Burlington is included in the Operation Greenlight system, but it's through the Missouri Highway Department.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Since this is primary,
Councilmember.
yes, you had pointed to me before. Since this
One
is
thing's gotta
primarily an Armor Road issue, I have yet to see any effective improvement in the traffic flow through synchronization. Has there been?
I
I mean, are we getting anything for our money out of that, is what I'm asking.
I mean, objectively, yes, I'd say we do, yes. They help solve a lot of timing issues when we have issues come up when a signal goes out. There's a lot of maintenance involvement with the traffic control computers. We actually also get the advantage of getting off the top surface transportation money when it comes to the congestion mitigation air quality fund. So actually, that's something we're actively participating in right now, getting traffic controllers at a very reduced cost. So there's savings in equipment, there's coordination with the other signals, and then just maintenance that we get through them as well. It depends on what we're talking about exactly, but yes, yeah.
That being said, I supported them.
Here we go. Further comments? Is there a motion for
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance adopting and approving a cooperative agreement for funding operations of Operation Greenlight Traffic Control System by and between Mid-America Regional Council and the City of North Kansas City, Missouri, related to a regional arterial traffic signal coordination system.
I move that Bill 7739 be put on for second and final reading
And passed as.
And passed as
as ordinance
number 9536.
as 9536.
There you go.
Fantastic. Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes,
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
An ordinance adopting and approving a cooperative agreement for funding operations of Operation Greenlight Traffic Control System by and between Mid-America Regional Council and the City of North Kansas City, Missouri, related to a regional arterial traffic signal coordination system.
Beautiful. I'm stealing again. Number 20, agreement with Mark for regional stormwater bill number 7741, ordinance number 9538. Anthony.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll try not to bore everyone with a 20-year-long story about stormwater, but the Kansas City metropolitan region uses APWA 5600 for specifications and criteria for just drainage techniques, modeling, technology, different elements like that. We use it when we have new developments where we gauge what kind of detention they have to do. There's all kinds of different components to this. 20 years ago, they updated the current model to what it is now, and the region is wanting to do a full re-look at the system. So our component cost of that would be $2,500 based on population. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
First reading?
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, further councilmember comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance adopting and approving a memorandum of agreement for update to stormwater engineering standards and planning guidelines by and between Mid-America Regional Council and the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
I move that bill number 7741 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9538.
Second somewhere? There we go. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Fitzgerald. Yes. Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes.
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Toll.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
An ordinance adopting and approving a memorandum of agreement for update to stormwater engineering standards and planning guidelines by and between Mid-America Regional Council and the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
Number 21, memo of understanding with Mark for Emergency Management Services, bill number 7742, ordinance number 9539. Chief Argus.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you is brought forth with Mark through the Local Emergency Planning Committee and the Metropolitan Emergency Managers Committee to, as a safety net for resource sharing. It doesn't do anything with our existing mutual aid agreements, just in case there's an emergency, there's some type of resource that needs to be requested from regional partners that's not covered under those agreements. This is just kind of a safety net. So if you have any other questions, please let me know.
Councilmember comments?
First reading.
Second.
Further councilmember comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Read the bill, please.
An ordinance adopting and approving a regional resource sharing agreement by and between Mid-America Regional Council and the City of North Kansas City, Missouri for emergency response and recovery.
I move that bill number 7742 be placed on second and final reading and placed as ordinance 9539.
Call the roll, please. Or is there a second? I'm sorry. Got ahead of
Second.
myself. There we go.
Second.
Now call the roll, please. Thank you.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes.
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Toll.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
An ordinance adopting and approving a regional resource sharing agreement by and between Mid-America Regional Council and the City of North Kansas City, Missouri for emergency response and recovery.
Number 22, ordinance repealing ordinance number 9391 passed on April 20, 2021. Would relate to 18th Avenue from Swift to Clay, one-way westbound. Bill number 7746, ordinance number 9543. Chief Freeman. I don't know who has this one. There's really nothing to say here. We're repealing an ordinance. It was one-way street due to construction. It's no longer a one-way street because the construction is now there. Traffic can pass two ways again. Councilmember Graves.
I do have one question from a member of the public. Is there a potential to leave the street one way and add street parking to help the businesses right there on 18th Avenue?
I force it. Now, Chief Freeman, please.
There already is street parking there. That's why it was made
he's-
one way in
yeah.
the first place.
Okay, so
You're
let me
talking
clarify.
in addition to the
He was
north side
actually
as well.
requesting angled parking versus parallel parking. He thought that you could fit more vehicles because we have a parking shortage in that area.
Potentially something, I think we could look at it at a future item. You'd have to get the width of the street and everything, the things you'd have to do. I don't know that we could
It
still,
just might be
we
some-
could still repeal this because traffic is already driving two ways on that street again because the construction has cleared up. So I think it would make sense
Can we
to
repeal this and then talk to those local business owners perhaps and see if that's something that they would desire?
There could be a path for that. Yeah, I think that could occur, but I think the best course of action tonight would be to return this the way it was for now, pending further research.
Okay, move to approve.
First reading.
First and second, further councilmember comments, Councilmember Toll.
I was just going to add another fix for that is we did build a massive parking lot across the street that has very poor signage that doesn't tell people when and where they can park.
Now we're getting out of scope of the item.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I think we're talking one and two way streets.
That should fix
overall.
part of the
Okay.
problem, right?
Yes, and more signage is on the way, correct? We have more signage on the way. There we go. Further councilmember comments. Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance repealing ordinance number 9391, which had established 18th Avenue from Swift to Clay as a one-way westbound street in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri. Second-
Anybody?
Second reading.
Yeah, we need second reading. I know.
I move that
Can I do it?
7746, Bill 7746 be placed on second final reading and passed as ordinance 9543.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes.
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Tull.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
An ordinance repealing ordinance number 9391, which had established 18th Avenue from Swift to Clay as a one-way westbound street in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri.
Number 23, an ordinance accepting a permanent sidewalk easement between the city and 18th and Swift LLC. Bill number 7745, ordinance number 9542. I just want to pick on Tom all night. Tom, you have anything to add to this? Whose is this? Shu? Tom? Kim? Crystal?
Here we go.
Oh, we are on the permanent sidewalk easement between the city and 18th and LLC.
Correct, and what makes this unique is that we own the property now, and under the Chapter 100, so that's why we're both the grantor and we're the grantee, and we wanted to make sure Mr. Sparks is here. He helped on this because it's an interesting legal thing that you have to, if you have a piece of property, real simply, if you have a piece of property and you have an easement across it and then you acquire the fee in it, then that easement will merge like into the ownership of the property. And so we needed to make sure once the Chapter 100 leaves that we will still have that sidewalk easement. And that's why this is a little bit, if you look carefully at the easement agreement, it's drafted differently than most easements are. Okay?
There we go.
And it's necessary so we can have access across up next to their property.
Perfect, thank you. Councilmember comments?
First reading. First
Second.
reading.
Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance approving an easement agreement for sidewalk access purposes wherein the city of North Kansas City, Missouri is both a grantor and the grantee, and 18th and Swift LLC is also a grantor, regarding a 4.00-foot strip of real property between the north wall of the Oxbow Apartments and the city's 18th Avenue southerly right-of-way line, approximately 335 feet in length. The sidewalk easement. The city of North Kansas City, Missouri, as grantee, accepts said permanent sidewalk easement.
I move that bill number 7745 be placed on second final reading and passed as ordinance number 9542.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes.
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Tull.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
An ordinance approving an easement agreement for sidewalk access purposes wherein the city of North Kansas City, Missouri is both a grantor and the grantee, and 18th and Swift LLC is also a grantor, regarding a 4.00-foot strip of real property between the north wall of the Oxbow Apartments and the city's 18th Avenue southerly right-of-way line, approximately 335 feet in length, the sidewalk easement. The city of North Kansas City, Missouri, as grantee, accepts said permanent sidewalk easement.
This is why I let you read the titles. Number 24, Medical Director Contract Renewal, Bill number 7740, ordinance number 9537. Chief Hargis.
Mayor and council, before you is the agreement for the contract with Dr. Russell to provide us with oversight as our medical director. There's no change in the cost from last year, and this will mark his 32nd year as our medical director. And
Thank
if you have
you.
any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Any council member questions? Seeing none, is there a motion for first reading?
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance adopting and approving a contract by and between the city of North Kansas City, Missouri and Stephen L. Russell, M.D. for professional medical advisory services and related professional services.
I move that bill number 7740 be placed on second and final reading and passed as ordinance number 9537.
Second.
Call the roll, please. Call the roll.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes.
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Tull.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
An ordinance adopting and approving a contract by and between the city of North Kansas City, Missouri and Stephen L. Russell, M.D. for professional medical wait a second, for professional medical advisory services and related professional services.
Item number 25, Councilmember Page, discussion, Councilmember Smith.
All right, so I asked to have this one put on because there is a section in the pay study that we commissioned that mentions elected official salaries. I'll start out by saying that none of us are up here because we want to get a paycheck. Like, we're not here to get paid. It's not about getting rich off of being in the council. But there is a significant time commitment that comes with a position like this. It's not just coming to a meeting and being at the dais for an hour or two. We spend a lot of time in other meetings. There was a month, I think we had 8 or 9 different budget and retreat and strategic planning type meetings. And this is a very special group that is willing to, give of their time. This group is a younger group of folks who have young kids. A lot of us have 1 or 2 young kids at home. Business owners, people who have a lot on their plate. And so looking at what this study recommends, the current pay for mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, is $8,000 a year.
$7,200.
$7,200 per year, and council is half of that at $3,600. What I am proposing for this is right in the ranges that they have recommended. I'm looking at $500 a month or $6,000 a year for council, and $1,100 a month or $13,200 per year for the mayor.
I mean, okay, Councilmember Graves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to point out the obvious that you were literally up here fretting about giving a raise to our non-union workers during that
Was not
meeting.
about that. It was
Yeah,
about
it was.
checking.
We're not going to do, hold on.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm still
We're going to do back and
talking.
forth.
Yeah,
Not
not
about
Councilmember Graves
that.
has the floor. Councilmember Graves.
Go ahead.
So let me finish talking. So you were fretting about the percentage increase of those people. So what's our current salary? $300 a month?
Yep.
And you're looking to increase that to $500 a month. So, I mean, I think it's inappropriate. And, that's it for me. I mean, this isn't a voting thing, but I would vote no. So I think that our pay is sufficient. Just leave it alone.
All right, I'll let you go, Councilmember Smith.
Okay, the prevailing wage discussion had nothing about not wanting to pay people. I wanted to see what it looks like for the taxpayer money that we're going to spend to look at a $75,000 threshold. That was all I asked for. And if I recall, you supported it. So let's go.
Councilmember Graves.
No, I was talking about the meeting that this, what's it called? The study was presented that you're referencing here on item 25. We had the lady come in and give us the presentation about increasing pay for our non-union employees. And there were people on the council, yourself including, that were fretting about people, especially in the lower pay ranges, their percentage increase in pay. That you thought was inappropriate that they were getting that much of an increase in pay. So we're going from 300 to 500. And you can sit here and shake your head, it's all on tape, so, I mean, people can go back and watch
To kind of
it.
recap, I mean, there was kind of 2 concerns, overall, the large percentage, and then kind of commentary related to, people that have recently gone on to salary or come on to staff, exorbitant increases from that. To which, of course, I'd similar to,
I just think it's
I would make a
hypocritical
similar point as
that-
well, saying,
yeah.
council members do accept this every 2 years and kind of know what they're signing up for.
It's hypocritical to oppose, our non-union employees getting large pay increases and then propose one for yourself. And then just, I don't know the answer to this. Can we vote to increase our own pay?
No, he will tell you, the brief is no. You
I'll be
cannot.
glad to give you a brief answer. Yes, you may, but it will not be able, if you voted on it, we'd have to bring it here by ordinance, so it won't be tonight. I might get direction to do it. And then it could not go into effect until after the election of April of 2024 for each of you. Okay, the state constitution, Article 7, Section 13, prohibits that from anyone changing their pay during their term of office. And what the Supreme Court has said, that's defined as those that have a specific term in office. So it would be you folks, it would be the municipal judge has a specific term of office. I'm not aware of anyone else that has a specific term of office that works for the city, okay? So, I mean, it's pretty clear. The state constitution is very clear, it's very short on this topic, but it's true for all basically elected officials in the state, whether from the highest on down.
To your question, like, no, you cannot approve it tonight, yes, and have that tomorrow or even next month. Further council member comments? Councilmember Roberts.
As the only person I believe that's not going to be running for reelection up here, I can say that this is a future forward-thinking object. I think people want to put in front of everyone's eyes for a conversation. I think seeing how much this mayor has worked, I mean, I don't know how you even have another job. Truly, I do not know how you have another job. And you make $7,000 doing this. I mean, I would guesstimate how many hours you work, but it is more than a full-time job's worth. I think the quality of people you have, it is certainly public service. You can look at a lot of things as public service. I think anybody working in the public sector is that. We also found that we grossly underpaid a lot of our staff, and we remedied that a few weeks ago. This is, I think, in the same jurisdiction as what we're talking about. There's already things in play that doesn't let us pay ourselves more right now. So this isn't about us giving a raise and getting it next week. This is about the future of the city and what the council does do. We are a small city that does a whole lot of things that I'm truly shocked about. I mean, the first few months of work we did here, I was woefully underprepared for, I would say, because it was some weeks a full-time job. And that's not saying that I'm doing this for the money. None of us are. But it is certain considerations that one has to take into account when you are also raising families and are, business owners or very busy individuals. And it does all go into account to what we do when we rerun or when we ask people to run. There is a large time consideration. And I think it is an appropriate discussion. I don't think you were out of line with the amount you were suggesting. Again, this wouldn't go into effect for a number of years. But I think everyone should be aware of the amount of hours that do go into play here, especially on the mayor's side of things, with this particular mayor that I've seen him working. So I don't think this is an inappropriate discussion. I think this is a very appropriate discussion. And I guess thanks for doing this. I don't know where we go from here, but
Okay,
we can scream some more. That'd be fun.
As it relates to time, I often do joke that it's probably costing me money to be mayor, but I chose that. It's something I knew going into it. It's public service. We serve for the public good, not for personal financial gain. And so I've been fine with that. I mean, it did it for 4 years. I think I'm losing money now. I was really in a bloodbath when I was on council. So I understand the argument. It's just not something, I don't want to change the motivating factors for people to run because it should be about public good and public service.
Well, let's be clear. We're not asking for.
And when I've had openings on council, there's been plenty of applications. People either not knowing they got paid at all, thought they were doing it for nothing, which when I ran for city council, I didn't even know I got a paycheck. It just hasn't been a cause of concern I've heard from anybody.
Sure. But I don't think anybody here is asking for a 20, 30, 40,000 full-time job like some other councils. I think it's an appropriate increase where we were grossly underpaying other positions. I think the stats show that we're a little out of line.
And further to the data, this data here, as she noted, Lee's Summit's on here with a $264 million budget. There's differences. They have 101,000 people in their city and 8 people on council. So that definitely skews the stats way high, as well as Blue Springs that sits at close to 60,000 with a 23,000 mayor compensation, 12,000 council conversation. I do think there's some deeper digging into some of the math if we want to go this route. Councilmember Saper, I've seen all kinds of motions over
Yes,
here.
indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's probably appropriate to have this discussion, nothing wrong with that, but it's totally inappropriate to even consider doing it. This is a kind of task that people take on, and if they don't know what the task is, they shouldn't be running. But I think everyone who does take this on knows that there is a certain time commitment, more, maybe less than they had thought. But this is the kind of thing that makes absolutely no sense, and especially since we don't yet have any kind of term limits on the city council. Now, that's an issue we might want to address in the future, too. to limit it to maybe 2, maybe 3?
I'll stop that. By state statute, I do not believe we can do that.
Is that the case?
I feel like we've had this argument. Mr. Barzee,
Mr. Barzee, is that the case?
we,
that
the
we
question
cannot-
is, are we allowed to have term limits in a third-class city, as we are?
There's, not that I'm aware of,
Is there anything prohibiting it?
in the same state's constitution, it does say you can't extend the term of people, but it doesn't talk about, there's nothing in the state statute, that's where we get our authority from, is by state statute. There's nothing in the state statute that provides for term limits. Doesn't mean maybe that you couldn't, but since it's provided for by the state statute and there's nothing in there, I'd be a little reluctant to be able to say, yes, you can establish term limits. I think that's more up to the state legislature, in my opinion. This is a third-class city.
But there's nothing prohibiting it.
There is
necessarily.
nothing that prohibits it either. I will be candid with you.
Okay.
There is not.
Thank you.
There we go, clear, got it. Further council member comments? Councilmember Stokes.
I do feel a little uncomfortable that on my third meeting, I'm like, yes, let's double our pay. So I do feel uncomfortable about that, but I also remember that was my first meeting when we discussed the McGrath Human Resource Survey, and we did discuss how we thought it was faulty, and so that's also something to consider with our own wages as well.
Further council member comments? Councilmember.
I have a question more than a comment, but I was curious, do we know the last time these amounts were adjusted?
2015, I
So
think,
it's been fairly recently then.
maybe 16, but yeah.
8 years ago.
Huh?
So
Councilmember Graves.
one other thing you might take into consideration to that, and you, Tom and Brian, Mr. Mayor DeLong would know better than myself, but I think it was Zach Clevenger was texting me that the council used to meet every week and they got paid more.
Well, sir,
And then they broke it down to 2 meetings per month, and then they cut the pay down. Is that
Our
correct?
town
Or am I just
historian
making
may
stuff
know
up?
better than Tom over here, but
I like to
I would
make
say
stuff
generally that the structure of council meetings have changed many times over the years. I'm not even sure.
I don't
council-
know if that was the exact reason.
I don't think
but
that's
there
why,
was a
but yeah.
time when it was cut down.
Okay.
But the structure has changed multiple times.
I was told
over history.
that.
I mean, even at one point, I believe there's a car allowance, and the car allowance got stripped out. At one point, I believe everyone had individual expense accounts that were small amounts to do training, travel, business council luncheons, these sort of things. That's been stripped out.
No, we have a
and
card.
increased. We do. We have a car allowance? We don't have a car allowance.
I have a card.
Oh, card.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
no,
just
okay.
say for the
But I'm saying
public, general public
At one
doesn't
point
know
in
that.
time, that was not a thing. From my recollection and looking at old minutes and everything, it appears as though there was a more restricted balance for every council member at one point. That was considered part of that, but now we've gone into a larger.
Just something
You'll
else to
even- I'll
take
get
into
there.
account, that some of these cities meet more regularly
Yeah.
than we do. Some of these cities, Councilman, you and I were at the National League of Cities, and I was hanging out with people from Columbus, Ohio, Las Vegas, Seattle. They have staff. They have it's basically a full-time job. So, I mean, you can't compare us to, even Blue Springs probably has
And some-
a substantial
Yeah.
more commitment than we have, so.
I mean, and obviously, there's a whole different types of government structures on here. Some do sit on
And
additional committees and have.
If you sit here and do the
additional workload
math,
with it.
tonight, we have a huge
Yeah.
agenda. We had a work session. We have this. We have 6 executive sessions. We'll probably get home at 11 PM. So let's call it a 5-hour, tonight's probably 5 hours, which is huge.
Yeah.
So let's pretend that the second meeting this month is also a huge meeting, 5 hours. That's 10 hours, and you're looking at getting paid $300 a month. It's really not that bad. I don't think we're up here. I don't
I'd
feel
certainly
sorry
add
for
one
us.
thing that I think everyone's probably going to add is there is research time and other things as well. But no, I
Theoretically.
yes.
You think people actually, I mean,
I'd like
yeah,
to
well, I'm
assume-
not going to have that argument, but I would bet that half the council does not actually read or do research.
I just saw it tonight when it was on the diet. No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding. I read all mine. No, and I assume, based on our robust discussions, I would assume that most everyone here is reading the material more so than what even happened in the past, but we'll stop there. What do we got?
All right. Yeah,
Councilmember
I'm
Smith,
I'm not
let
even
you
touch
close
any
here.
of that. What is the path forward here if we do want to consider an increase?
I'm going to say out loud what Tom just said.
I would need some kind of consensus and direction to bring forward an ordinance for formal consideration.
Okay, so not like a motion, I wouldn't need to make a motion, but we would need to coalesce around like some amounts that you would
You
bring
can
back.
make a motion directing staff to do something.
That would be very helpful to us as we draft stuff, and we're not just trying to guess where you are.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll make a motion. It may fail, we'll see. I would move to direct staff to increase, at the appropriate time, pay for council to $500 per month pre-tax, and for the mayor to $1,100 per month pre-tax.
At the appropriate times and awfully.
I mean, whenever
Vague.
it can be done. I don't know
Okay.
exactly how that vote has to come up.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did you say 1,100 for the mayor?
Yep, $1,100 a month. I can give you the annual numbers too if you need.
Better split that into two ordinances too when they do it. If you don't want. I didn't hear. a
I'll
second.
second that.
Okay, there is a second.
Who seconded it? Adam, okay, sorry.
Give me the numbers one more time here.
$500 a month for the council, $1,100 a month for the mayor.
Okay, the motion is not to approve this. The motion is directing staff to bring this forward at a future agenda. Bring back an ordinance.
Yeah.
$500 a month for council. Did I say that wrong?
That's right.
No, that's right.
Okay. And $1,100 a month for mayor. Further council member comments, at least council member Toll.
Just for everybody watching and everybody here, I know that the mayor would say no to a pay increase, but he does put in an insane number of hours and is here on a regular basis. So I can totally see that. I, like many people up here, didn't even know you got paid when I ran for council, so that was a pleasant surprise. Having been on council, it is a great number of hours, and I take great issue with the implication that we're not prepared, because I feel like we are prepared and have thorough discussions every meeting. That being said, I don't think there's public support for increasing the pay for council members. If the two were separated, I could see I would definitely vote for increasing the mayor's pay, given the number of hours that he puts in, and I feel very fortunate that he's here representing me as a citizen. But I do think it was a good discussion to have.
Thank you. I appreciate the sentiment. You are correct. I would vote no. Okay. Further Councilmember Roberts.
I know I gave you a second, but I think that's a great idea. Could we do two different items? One for the mayor specifically, and
That way
one
I
for
can
the
veto
council?
one.
With those same amounts?
Save everyone time.
Do I need to?
Okay, so I'm
redo
going
the
to undo my second.
Yeah, I'll redirect staff to bring two separate ordinance, one for the mayor at $1,100 per month and one for council at $500 per month.
And then I will second that.
There we go. Further council member comments. I'm still a no. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
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 Is that everybody?
Okay, I have to back up. Was I saying yes to one in particular, or was I saying yes to both?
You were saying yes, directing staff. Okay, I got to close this out here. Motion carries. Okay, beyond that, I'll answer that. It was two different. It's one motion directing staff to do two things. Bring two separate ordinances back.
Which at the time you can vote yes or no on.
Are we good
And now
now?
we're done, and you can read the next item, please.
Oh.
I'll let you have bill accounts due and payable.
Approving accounts due and payable by the city through February 3rd, 2023. Bill number 7747, ordinance number 9544.
First reading.
Is there a second? There we go. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through February 3rd, 2023.
Is there a second reading?
Oh, I need a motion.
I move that bill number 7747 be placed on second and final reading and passed as ordinance 9544.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes.
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Tull.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through February 3rd, 2023.
Staff comments.
I would like to call on Police Chief Friedman.
Good evening.
Good evening. Just real briefly, I just want to give council an update on some of our capital projects that have been approved this year and one from last year. We did take delivery this week on our 3 hybrid police interceptors, so now we're in line with our upfitter for getting them all marked up and lighted up and everything for use. Our in-car cameras and body cameras have been ordered. We've received our body cameras. We're waiting on the in-car cameras, so that is a work in progress as well. And then a project from last budget year is the dispatch furniture upfit remodel that, because of supply chain, it took through another fiscal year to get accomplished, but that is currently under construction right now, which is the only reason why our lobby is closed. We had to displace our dispatchers into an alternate site, and our records clerk is off this week, so there's nobody to welcome the public when they come in our lobby. So we thought it was an easier task just to ask them to pick up the phone, get the dispatchers, and we direct them in the right place. But just want to give you an update on some of those projects that you approved for us to move forward with, and we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Further staff comments?
I just have 2 quick items. Tomorrow we will be hosting one of the North Kansas City High School students as part of their job shadowing program, so we're very excited about that. And I did want to give a quick update on the status of the state ARPA funding grants. We've received notification that the state has been overwhelmed with the amount of grant applications. So we were supposed to get notification either way at the end of January. We're now being told that we will get notification at the end of February. So I did want to kind of just say we're in a no news, good news situation right now, but we're hoping to hear news by the end of the month.
That it? Boom, here we go. Councilmember comments. Councilmember Fitzgerald.
No comments for tonight.
Councilmember Roberts.
Only one comment, and that's all anybody should make, which is go Chiefs.
Councilmember Stokes. You can make the same comment.
Go Chiefs.
There you go, Councilmember Graves.
I want to congratulate Officer Lawrence on his retirement, and I'm happy that Proposition 3 passed, and go check out the new, what's it called, Besame Wellness Center for all your recreational needs. And then we just need golf carts and sports betting now here in Missouri, and then we're good to go.
We got it. We'll be driving down with our apps, smoking weed, golf carts. Perfect. Councilmember Saper. Living the dream down here.
I strongly encourage all residents of North Kansas City to contact your council members regarding the council mayor pay increases and how you feel about it. And further, I encourage you to come out to the next council meeting where this will be discussed and tell us how you feel at that time as well. This is something that really we need the public's input on strongly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Toll.
No comment.
Councilmember Smith.
Go Chiefs.
Perfect. I have nothing. Obviously, you guys saw the proclamation Officer Lawrence, who was with the city of North Kansas City for, I believe, 29 years. So congratulations to Officer Lawrence on his upcoming retirement. With that, we'll skip into a bunch of executive sessions here. Crystal. Or Zerd. Yeah, no, Tom won't let us approve it all at once.
Number 30, consideration of a request to hold in recess into an executive session as requested by the Deputy City Administrator to be held on this date on a real estate matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 610.021. 2.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts. Councilmember Stokes.
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Toll.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Number 31, consideration of a request to hold in recess into an executive session as requested by the Deputy City Administrator to be held on this date on a real estate matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 610.0212.
So moved.
Call the roll, please.
Second.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes.
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Toll.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Number 32, consideration of a request to hold in recess into an executive session as requested by the Deputy City Administrator to be held on this date on a real estate matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 610.2 00212.
Can we get a motion? Or a second?
No, so moved.
Second.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes.
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Tull.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city councilor to be held on this date on a litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute Section 610.0211.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes.
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Tull.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Number 34, consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the Deputy City Administrator to be held on this date on a real estate matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute Section 610.0212.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes. Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Tull.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
And finally, consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city councilor to be held on this date on a personnel matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 610.0213.
So moved.
Second.
And call the roll, please.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes. Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Tull.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to find a better way to do that in the future?
Gosh. Move to adjourn.
No, we are not moving to adjourn. No.
I don't care.
What is happening now is the live stream and Channel 2 will cut off for people watching at home, for everyone that just made it through that marathon. There will be no more public business and no more public votes taken this evening. Have a good night. Thank you. Everyone else,